In the heart of the Karakoram Range, straddling the border between Pakistan and China, a giant pierces the sky. This is K2. It is not the world's highest mountain. That title belongs to Everest. But it is, without a doubt, the world's deadliest. Known as the Savage Mountain, it's a name earned through decades of tragedy and extreme challenge. Its slopes are steeper, its weather more volatile, and its routes more technically demanding than any other 8,000-meter peak. Just reaching its base camp is a monumental trek, a journey that tests you long before you even touch the mountain itself. This isn't a place for the faint of heart. It is nature at its most raw and unforgiving, a pyramid of rock and ice that holds no mercy for mistakes. The mountain's statistics tell a brutal story. For every 4 people who have stood on its summit, 1 has died trying. This chilling ratio has cemented its reputation as the ultimate prize in mountaineering, a test of skill and survival that pushes humans to their absolute limits. Unlike the more commercialized routes on Everest, K2 offers no easy path to the top. Its infamous sections, like the treacherous bottleneck, a narrow couloir overhung by massive unstable seracs of ice, are death traps waiting to spring. Rockfall is constant, and avalanches sweep its faces with terrifying frequency. The mountain creates its own weather, with storms that can appear from nowhere, trapping climbers in a frozen hell. The name K2 itself is deceptively simple, a surveyor's notation that stuck. It was the second peak surveyed in the Karakoram Range, hence K2. But that sterile label hides a complex and violent personality. The mountain doesn't just challenge your physical strength, it attacks your mind. The isolation, the extreme cold, and the constant gut-wrenching fear take their toll. You are a tiny, fragile speck in an immense and hostile environment. Every step is a battle against gravity, against the thinning air that starves your brain of oxygen, and against the primal instinct screaming at you to turn back. This is a place where survival is the only true victory. Its formidable nature means that for many years, K2 resisted all attempts to be climbed in winter. The brutal cold, with temperatures plunging below -60 degrees Celsius and hurricane-force winds, made it the last great prize for high-altitude mountaineers. It wasn't until 2021 that a team of Nepali climbers finally achieved this impossible feat, a testament to modern skill and incredible endurance. But even that triumph was bittersweet, a reminder that the Savage Mountain only allows success on its own terms. It demands respect, humility, and an acknowledgement that you are merely a guest in a kingdom of ice and stone, a kingdom that can reclaim its territory in an instant. So why do they come? Why do men and women from all corners of the globe leave the safety of their homes to face almost certain suffering and possible death on the slopes of K2? The answer is as complex as the mountain itself. For some, it is the purest form of adventure, the ultimate test of human potential. It's about pushing boundaries, not just of the physical body, but of the human spirit. To stand on that summit is to stand on the very edge of the world, to see a view reserved for only a handful of souls. It is a moment of profound achievement, a feeling of being truly alive that can only be found by staring death in the face. For professional climbers, K2 is the pinnacle of their careers. Summiting the Savage Mountain is a mark of elite skill and bravery. It brings sponsorship, fame, and a place in the history books. It's the Everest of the climbing world, the one that really counts among peers. This pursuit of greatness drives them to train for years, sacrificing time with family, financial stability, and personal comfort. They study the routes, analyze weather patterns, and fine-tune their bodies to operate in the death zone above 8,000 meters, where the human body begins to die. It is a singular, all-consuming obsession, a siren's call that echoes in the heart of every serious mountaineer. But it's not just about ego or glory. For many, climbing is a deeply personal and spiritual journey. The mountain strips you down to your core. In that thin, cold air, all the distractions of modern life fall away. There are no emails, no deadlines, no trivial worries. There is only the crunch of your boots on the snow, the sound of your own breathing, and the monumental task ahead. It's a form of meditation, a way to connect with nature in its most powerful form. You learn about your own resilience, your fears, and your capacity for endurance. It is a journey inward as much as it is a journey upward. This desire to test oneself is a fundamental part of the human spirit. We are explorers by nature. We have an innate curiosity to see what lies over the next hill, beyond the horizon, or at the top of the highest peak. K2 represents one of the last great frontiers on our planet. It is a symbol of the wild, untamable world that still exists beyond our cities and civilization. To attempt K2 is to answer a primal call, to step into a world where you are not in control, and to see if you have what it takes to survive. It's a risk, a huge one, but for those who hear the mountains call, it's a risk worth taking. On July 27, 2023, the inherent dangers of K2 collided with the complexities of modern commercial mountaineering in the most tragic way imaginable. That day, a 27-year-old Pakistani high-altitude porter named Mohammad Hassan was part of a team fixing ropes for the hundreds of climbers waiting below. He was a husband and a father of 3, working one of the most dangerous jobs on earth to provide for his family. He was not a wealthy adventurer. He was a worker. Hassan was in the bottleneck, the most feared section of the climb, a narrow, icy traverse directly beneath a monstrous serac. At around 2 o'clock in the morning, in the freezing darkness, something went terribly wrong. Hassan fell. He didn't fall far, perhaps only about 5 meters, but he was left hanging upside down, tangled in the very ropes he was helping to secure. His situation was dire. The fall itself, the awkward position, and the extreme altitude combined to create a lethal emergency. Reports later revealed that he was tragically under-equipped for the task. He lacked a proper downsuit to protect him from the savage cold, and some witnesses said he wasn't using supplemental oxygen, a critical tool for survival at that altitude. He was a man sent into a battle zone without the proper armor, a stark reality for many local porters in the high-stakes world of 8,000-meter peaks. The accident happened at the worst possible time. The 2023 season had been plagued by bad weather, and July 27th was the only clear window for a summit push. This created a massive human traffic jam, with over 150 climbers all gunning for the top on the same day. When Hassan fell, he became a roadblock on this single-file highway to the summit. As the sun rose, the first wave of climbers began to arrive at the bottleneck, only to be confronted with the horrifying scene: a man, critically injured and fighting for his life, blocking the only path forward. The world was about to witness a moment that would expose the dark side of this magnificent sport. The news of Hassan's death did not come from an official report, but from shocking drone footage that surfaced days later. The images were damning. They showed a long line of climbers, dozens of them stepping over and around Hassan's stricken body as they continued their ascent. The footage sparked a firestorm of outrage across the globe. People who had never heard of the bottleneck were now asking a difficult question: how could so many people walk past a dying man in pursuit of a mountain summit? The tragedy of Mohammad Hassan was no longer just a climbing accident. It had become a profound moral crisis for the entire mountaineering community. In the immediate aftermath of Mohammad Hassan's fall, there was chaos and confusion. The path was incredibly narrow, barely wide enough for one person, with a sheer drop on one side and the towering ice serac on the other. Norwegian climber Kristin Harila and her team were among the first to reach Hassan. They spent hours trying to help him. They managed to pull him back onto the path, untangle him from the ropes, and administer oxygen from their own supplies. But Hassan was unresponsive, and the situation was deteriorating rapidly. An avalanche thundered down from the serac above, narrowly missing the group and reminding everyone of the extreme danger they were all in. The decision of what to do next was brutal. Carrying an incapacitated person down from that altitude is nearly impossible, even for a dedicated, well-equipped rescue team. Here, in the bottleneck, with a crowd of climbers pushing from behind, it was unthinkable. A coordinated rescue would have required dozens of strong climbers to abandon their summit attempts and work together. But no such mission materialized. According to Harila, after their initial efforts, they believed Hassan was gone. With their own oxygen running low, and the rope-fixing team ahead in potential trouble, her team made the controversial choice to continue upward, leaving others to stay with Hassan. This is where the story turns dark. As the morning progressed, a steady stream of climbers reached the scene. Instead of stopping to help form a rescue party, the vast majority made the decision to continue. The drone footage is haunting. A line of brightly colored figures stepping carefully over Hassan's body, their focus fixed on the summit that lay just a few hundred meters above. For them, it was a moment of terrible calculus. They had spent tens of thousands of dollars, trained for years, and were within reach of a lifelong dream. Stopping meant failure. Continuing meant turning a blind eye to a fellow human being in his most desperate hour of need. The reasons given for this mass failure to act are varied. Some claimed they thought help was already on the way. Others said the situation looked hopeless and there was nothing they could do. The sheer number of people created a diffusion of responsibility. If no one else was stopping, why should I? It was a collective moral failure, driven by summit fever, ambition, and the brutal logic of the death zone. In that thin, unforgiving air, the instinct for self-preservation and the allure of the summit overrode the basic human impulse to help someone in need. It was a traffic jam of ambition, and Mohammed Hassan was its most tragic victim. The death of Mohammed Hassan threw a harsh spotlight on a deep and often ignored inequality at the heart of high-altitude mountaineering. The vast gap between foreign climbers and the local Pakistani porters who make their climbs possible. Foreign clients arrive with the best gear money can buy, state-of-the-art downsuits, top-tier boots, and reliable oxygen systems. They are supported by logistics companies, weather forecasts, and experienced guides. They climb for glory, for personal achievement, for the experience. For them, it is a passion, an expensive and dangerous hobby. They pay huge sums of money, often upwards of $50,000, for a chance to stand on top of the world. In stark contrast, men like Mohammed Hassan work on the mountain out of economic necessity. They are not chasing dreams of fame. They are earning a living to support their families in one of the poorest regions of Pakistan. Their pay is a tiny fraction of what clients pay for the expedition, yet they take on the greatest risks. They are the ones who fix the ropes in the most dangerous sections, haul the heavy loads of equipment and supplies, and set up the camps. They work harder, spend more time exposed to the elements, and often do so with substandard equipment. Hassan's lack of a proper downsuit or gloves was not an oversight. It was a reflection of a system that often treats local workers as expendable. This disparity is a legacy of the colonial origins of mountaineering, where Western explorers relied on the strength and knowledge of local people. While Sherpas in Nepal have gained international recognition and better standards over the years, Pakistani porters have often been left behind. They lack the same level of training, unionization, and institutional support. An investigation following Hassan's death revealed he had no prior experience above 8,000 meters, yet he was tasked with one of the most critical jobs on the mountain. He was tragically unprepared and unsupported, a systemic failure that cost him his life. The incident forced the climbing world to confront this uncomfortable truth. Is it ethical for a multi-million-dollar industry to be built on the backs of underpaid, under-equipped workers? The outrage that followed Hassan's death led to a GoFundMe campaign that raised over $150,000 for his family, a sum that will change their lives but will never bring him back. It also led to calls for sweeping reforms, mandatory insurance, proper equipment standards, better pay, and more rigorous training for all high-altitude workers. The tragedy made it clear that the safety and dignity of every person on the mountain, client and porter alike, must be the top priority. Mohammed Hassan's death was a modern tragedy, but he is just one of many souls claimed by the savage mountain. K2's history is a long and brutal saga of ambition, triumph, and devastating loss. Long before commercial expeditions created traffic jams in the death zone, the mountain was a lonely and terrifying place, attempted only by the world's most daring alpinists. The first successful ascent wasn't until 1954, by an Italian team led by Ardito Desio. But even that victory was mired in controversy and bitterness between the two climbers who reached the summit, Lino Lacedelli and Achille Compagnoni, a dark prelude to the human dramas that would unfold on its slopes for decades to come. The year 1986 stands out as one of the darkest seasons in K2's history. That summer, 13 different climbers died in a series of separate incidents, a shocking death toll that underscored the mountain's relentless hostility. The season culminated in a horrific storm that trapped 5 climbers high on the mountain after they had summited. Pinned down in the death zone for days, they succumbed one by one to exhaustion and exposure. Only one, Austrian climber Kurt Diemberger, survived the descent, but he suffered severe frostbite. The 1986 tragedy became a cautionary tale, a brutal reminder that getting to the top is only half the battle. Perhaps the most infamous disaster occurred on August 1st, 2008. On that single horrific day, 11 climbers lost their lives in the bottleneck. The catastrophe began when a massive serac of ice broke off, sweeping away fixed ropes and stranding a large group of climbers who were descending from the summit. In the chaos that followed, some fell, while others were left trapped in the death zone overnight, without a safe way down. The 2008 disaster was the mountain's single deadliest day and sent shockwaves through the climbing community. It highlighted the objective dangers of the bottleneck, a place where a climber's fate can be sealed by nothing more than the random calving of ice. These ghosts of the past haunt the mountain. Their stories are woven into its identity. Every climber who sets foot on K2 is aware of the tragedies that have come before. They walk past memorial plaques at base camp, stone tributes to the many who never returned. These events are not just historical footnotes, they are stark warnings. They speak of the mountain's unpredictable fury, the thin margin between success and disaster, and the heavy price that is often paid for standing on its summit. The history of K2 is written not in ink but in ice and rock, and it is a story of human courage and heartbreaking loss. Among the many climbers lost to the Karakoram's giants, few are mourned as deeply in Pakistan as Ali Sadpara. He was more than just a mountaineer. He was a national icon, a hero who rose from a poor village to stand atop the world's highest peaks. Sadpara was a high-altitude porter who, through sheer talent, strength and determination, became one of the most accomplished climbers of his generation. He had summited 8 of the world's 14 8,000-meter peaks, including a historic first winter ascent of Nanga Parbat in 2016. He was a source of immense national pride, a symbol of what Pakistanis could achieve on the world stage. In February 2021, Ali Sadpara embarked on his most ambitious quest yet, a winter ascent of K2. Climbing the savage mountain in winter was considered the last great problem in mountaineering, a challenge that had repelled dozens of expeditions. A team of Nepali climbers had just claimed the prize weeks earlier, but Sadpara, along with his son Sajid, John Snorri of Iceland and Juan Pablo Moore of Chile, set out to make their own attempt. For Sadpara, this was personal. K2 was his mountain, a peak that loomed over his home region, and he dreamed of being the first Pakistani to summit it in winter. High on the mountain near the bottleneck, Sajid Sadpara was forced to turn back due to a problem with his oxygen regulator. It was the last time he would see his father alive. Ali, Snorri and Moore continued their push for the summit, disappearing into the vast frozen emptiness of the upper slopes. For days, the world watched and waited, hoping for a miracle. Rescue helicopters scanned the mountain, but there was no sign of the climbers. The nation of Pakistan held its breath, praying for the safe return of its hero. But as days turned into weeks, hope began to fade. The savage mountain had claimed 3 more lives. Their bodies were found 5 months later, in July 2021, by climbers on the summer route. They were discovered near the bottleneck, frozen in time, a tragic testament to their final desperate struggle. The loss of Ali Sadpara was a national tragedy in Pakistan. He represented the best of the country's spirit, resilient, brave and humble. His death, so close to the death of Muhammad Hassan 2 years later, highlights the immense risks that local climbers and porters face. They are the true masters of these mountains, yet they often pay the ultimate price, leaving behind grieving families and a legacy of raw courage in the face of impossible odds. The death of Muhammad Hassan and the footage of climbers stepping over his body sent a tidal wave of shame and anger through the global community. This wasn't just another accident in a dangerous sport. It was a public display of what many saw as a complete breakdown of human decency. The incident ignited a fierce debate about the ethics of modern mountaineering. The unwritten code of the mountains has always been clear. A climber in distress is everyone's responsibility. The summit is always secondary to saving a life. On July 27, 2023, on the world's most savage mountain, that code appeared to be shattered into a million pieces. Critics, including other seasoned climbers, condemned the actions of those who continued to the summit. Austrian mountaineer Wilhelm Steindl, who was on K2 but aborted his climb, called the incident a disgrace, stating that a human life was treated as secondary to records and personal goals. The controversy particularly engulfed Kristin Harila, who summited K2 that day to complete her record-breaking quest to climb all 14 8,000-meter peaks in just over 3 months. While she insisted her team did all they could, she faced intense backlash for not abandoning her record attempt to coordinate a full-scale rescue. The event became a symbol of how personal ambition, commercial pressures, and summit fever can corrupt the soul of mountaineering. The fallout forced a painful self-examination within the climbing world. What had the sport become? The commercialization of peaks, like Everest and K2, has brought more people to the mountains, but it has also diluted the ethos of self-reliance and mutual aid that once defined alpinism. Many clients now pay for a guided experience, expecting the ropes to be fixed and the path cleared. They see the summit as a product to be purchased, not a challenge to be earned. This mindset, critics argue, contributed to the tragedy. Hassan was seen not as a fellow climber, but as part of the service, and when the service broke down, people simply stepped over the problem. In response to the global outcry, the government of Gilgit-Baltistan in Pakistan launched an official investigation. The inquiry confirmed the failures of that day and led to tangible consequences. The expedition company that employed Hassan, Layla Peak Expeditions, had its license suspended for 2 years for its negligence in providing him with proper gear and support. While this action was a step toward accountability, the deeper ethical questions remain. The incident on K2 was not just about one man's death, it was about the moment the world saw the beautiful, adventurous spirit of mountaineering lose its moral compass in the thin air of the death zone. A tragedy like the one that befell Mohammed Hassan must not be in vain. It must serve as a catalyst for change, a brutal but necessary wake-up call for the entire mountaineering industry. The path forward requires more than just outrage. It demands concrete action to protect the most vulnerable people on the mountain and restore the ethical core of climbing. The first and most crucial lesson is that the lives and safety of high-altitude porters are not negotiable. They are the backbone of these expeditions, and they deserve the same level of protection, respect, and care as any paying client. This is not charity. It is a fundamental responsibility. This means implementing and enforcing strict regulations. Companies operating on K2 and other major peaks must be required to provide all local staff with top-quality equipment, including full down suits, proper boots, and supplemental oxygen. Comprehensive life insurance policies must be mandatory, ensuring that if the worst happens, their families are not left destitute. Rigorous training standards are also essential. No one, regardless of their natural strength, should be sent into the death zone without proven experience and skills. Governments and climbing associations must hold expedition operators accountable, with severe penalties for those who cut corners on safety. Furthermore, the problem of overcrowding on mountains like K2 needs to be addressed. The human traffic jam on July 27th was a major contributing factor to the disaster. Limiting the number of permits issued per season, especially during narrow weather windows, could reduce the pressure on the mountain and on individuals. This would allow for safer, more thoughtful ascents and reduce the summit fever that leads to poor decision-making. It might make the mountain more exclusive, but it would also make it safer and preserve the spirit of alpinism, which is about solitude and challenge, not standing in line. Ultimately, the most profound lesson is a personal one for every person who aspires to climb. A summit is a piece of rock and ice. It is a geographical point. It holds no intrinsic value beyond what we assign to it. The true measure of a climber is not whether they reached the top, but how they conducted themselves along the way. It is about courage, integrity, and compassion. The spirit of the mountains is found in helping a fellow climber in distress, in recognizing our shared humanity, and in knowing when the right decision is to turn back. If we can learn to prioritize people over peaks, then Mohammed Hassan's legacy will be a safer, more honorable future for the sport he died serving.